Hi, my name is Dan and I'm a psychiatric drug coach. What I do is I make videos and I also do coaching. So if you're looking for help, you can visit the description box below this video where I have all my links pasted. And alternatively, you can go to my website, philosophicalfishing.com, and I've got all my information up there as well. Today, I want to talk about feeling misunderstood in psych drug damage. This is a huge, huge thing to go through, particularly if you're brand new to psych med damage. And by the way, this doesn't just have to be psych meds. I mean, usually what I talk about and what I'm referring to is typically benzodiazepines and antidepressants, but this covers any type of psychiatric med, and other medications can do this for sure. So it's not just psychiatric medications. It just happens to be that I was damaged by psychiatric medications, and most of the people that I deal with are also damaged by psychiatric meds. And when you're damaged by them, it's almost impossible to self-advocate. And so a lot of what I try to do is, I hope I do this well, but I try to be an advocate for those still going through it, because it is so difficult to describe the symptoms that you're dealing with accurately to somebody else. And it's almost impossible to just tell somebody how you're feeling and what it actually feels like to go through this, because it is so devastating. And when you're going through it, your brain is so messed up. I mean, it's just damaged, and it's almost impossible to accurately tell somebody what this actually feels like. It is so hard to go through. So self-advocacy becomes nearly impossible in the medical community. If you try to go to your doctor or a medical professional and describe to them what's going on, you're probably going to be met with one of maybe two or three different responses. Number one is, because you may already be a patient of the psychiatric system, they're going to look at your chart and tell you that it's all in your head, that all of your symptoms that you're dealing with are basically they're going to tell you that you're crazy and you're just dealing with anxiety or depression, or you're having some sort of a psychotic episode and you need more medication. And so this is where people who are damaged initially by maybe one drug become polydrugged. And they can go down a road of being more and more and more damaged and staying in this psychiatric system of drug damage for a long time, unfortunately. Once the person realizes that it's actually the drugs that are causing the problem and not the initial psychiatric diagnosis, then you can start to get free from the system. And this is when it gets really tough, because now you realize that it's been the drugs that have damaged you, and you're trying to get off the drugs, or you now are off the drugs and you're already damaged, and it's like, now what do I do? And people have a really hard time trying to get their lives back. Now, you may also be dealing with family members or friends, and it gets really tricky, because people may just become tired. They may get weary of hearing you talk about your symptoms every single day. And it's not your fault. I mean, the symptoms are so heavy, they're so damaging, they're so hard to deal with, that it is almost impossible to not say anything about it. I mean, you can start to suppress what you actually feel just to try to, hold it in and pretend like you're okay, and mask and go through your life that way. And that can be really detrimental to your mental health too, because you feel invalidated. You feel like, I'm just trying to show up for life, and yes, I'm struggling really hard, but the more I try to talk about it, or the more I put my attention on my symptoms or try to express how I feel, it almost makes me feel worse, because I see that I'm affecting the people around me, and I see that I'm just a burden, and now I feel like I'm just dragging people around me down, and I feel like I should be living my life, and I can't though. And I'm really trying. And you may do that. I mean, I did it for a long time too, where I felt like I had to. Like, I felt like I just had to show up for life and suppress what I was feeling and just like shove it down and pretend like it wasn't there, when in actuality, I was struggling really hard with a lot of physical and mental and cognitive distortion and a lot of damage. And I felt like I didn't want to drag my wife down. I didn't want to drag my parents down. I didn't want to drag my friends down, so I was just trying to show up, doing the best that I could. But at the same time, I was still struggling hard, and I was still suffering really, really badly. And this is where, a good, either a therapist or a friend or a coach that has been through this can be extremely helpful, because you can have that space with that person to really get it out and really express how you feel, and have that safe place where you can say, look, I'm struggling really, really hard, and I have to get it out. I have to talk to somebody who I know gets it on some level. And that can be really, really therapeutic. I mean, that's still, for me, that's one of the main tools that I use and that I utilize in my life, is having a safe person that I can go to and express how I'm feeling and dump, and have that person tell me, like, Dan, I would rather you get this out with me than with somebody else who's going to be an innocent bystander in your life that doesn't understand what you're dealing with. So having that is really, really therapeutic, because most people, I mean, they're just, let's face it, they're not going to understand what psychiatric drug damage feels like. They can't. How could they get it? And I don't want anybody to get it. I don't want somebody to understand what this feels like, because it's so horrendous. I don't wish this on anybody. But there are people around who do get it. There are people out there that do understand it and are going through it or have been through it, and can hold that space for you to express yourself and get it out and pull that mask off and say what's actually going on. Talk about the hard stuff. Talk about what you're actually feeling and experiencing, because it's so heavy to go through this day after day after day. On a personal note, I got to a place in my recovery where I completely stopped talking about it pretty much at all. And it was just because I got tired of it. I felt like when I tried to explain what was going on with me, people just kind of looked at me like, I felt like there was just this level of like disbelief that a medication could actually do this to somebody. And that's where I kind of fell off even trying anymore. I thought, whatever, I'm just, at this point, I'm just going to stop talking about it. I'm going to not say anything anymore, because I don't want to try to explain it to somebody. And if I did, it would be, usually a really brief, like, yeah, a few years ago I was damaged by medication and I'm still dealing with the after effects. And then, that's a short way of saying I'm dealing with a whole hell of a lot of things, This touched every aspect of my life in a very, very deep way, going through this whole process of recovering from psych meds. But this is where I want to talk about self-advocacy, because at a certain point we do need to advocate for ourselves, and it becomes really, really important, because our whole society is not set up for our healing. It's not set up for mental health well-being in general anyway. I mean, we're constantly on the go. We're constantly connected. Things are so fast. Our society is set up to move so, so quickly. There is just not time to set aside peace for yourself, for quiet time, for meditation, to analyze, to digest what's going on. Our societies are not set up for that. So it becomes important to advocate for yourself. And believe me, I am learning how to do this better and better, more and more for myself as time goes on. But when I'm overstimulated, I need to take time out and say I'm overstimulated and I need time, and I need to sit down and I need to take that time for myself to decompress. I've been scheduling time off for myself now, a day, 2 days, where I need to relax. I need to take time for myself to recenter and reset. Otherwise, I can't do what I do. I can't be as effective making videos or talking to people or doing what I want to do, helping people through this process. So I need to self-advocate for myself. But especially when you're drug damaged, self-advocacy can look like saying that I need time away. I need to decompress. I'm overstimulated. I need to talk to somebody. I need to get this out. I need to have a safe person that I can express this to and talk with, and that's going to give me some hope. That's self-advocacy. It could look like I need to take a walk right now because my anger is so high, I feel like I'm going to explode. So I'm going to go decompress, I'm going to go take a walk, I'm going to go take a bike ride. And I will always be an advocate for having a safe person to talk to. I think that is so important, to have that person that you can get that out to and vent to. It's really one of my main tools that I have in my toolbox to this day. I know how hard this process can be. I've been through it. I get it. Self-advocacy is really, really tough. It's tough because for a number of reasons. Many people will just look at us, and because we've already had a mental health diagnosis perhaps, it's easy to brush us off and say they're just, they're full of anxiety, they're full of depression, they're crazy, it's all mental, it's all in their head, when this is anything but. Like, what we're dealing with in psych med withdrawal is a major medical issue. It is major brain damage and nervous system damage, but we do not have the medical classifications right now or the research behind it to show what's actually going on. I mean, to a limited extent, we know that our GABA receptors are damaged. We know that there's tons of nervous system damage. We can point to those things, but still, we are still in the infancy of finding out what is actually going on and, just how much, to what extent we're damaged. I mean, there's very few cases I know of people who have gotten medical disability from this. So it's just not recognized as the real medical damage that it is. So I hope this video was helpful. As I always say, as long as they are helpful, I'm going to keep making them. If you have any ideas for content, please leave me a message. You can email me, philosophicalfishing.com. And I wish you all the best. I wish you continued healing. I love you guys.